When the old people told the story, they said the first line of our creation story is Darawa, the creator, is the source of all knowledge and power in the universe. We're in White Shield, North Dakota. My name is Jasper Young Bear. I'm a member of the Mandan Hidads on Arikara Nation. And sometimes I teach. So today I'll play the part of a teacher. We talked about Hubili Gusut, the morning star. We talked about Natarach Dagon, the 10-petal flaming star. And when I was fasting one time, I seen a man standing on a cliff. Probably in between me was a big valley. There was a man standing on the cliff like 200 yards away. I was kind of squinting around, kind of looking at it. There's a man standing over there. And all of a sudden he walked across the valley, but he came straight across in 4 steps. And he was standing right in front of me, about from me to you, and it surprised me. And instead of saying, oh, praying in my language or offering the pipe or, I said, what's up, man? Because he surprised me, you know what I mean? And he just had a blank face. And all of a sudden he started smiling at me. And that's how I know what I know. And that star's name was Sagakutid Nawadiji, the black star that's here and there. And he has all the knowledge of the medicine lodge. And that's how I got the knowledge. I got it gifted to me in a smile. And say no words, he smiled at me. It's literally a star smiled upon me. Sagat Katid Nawadiji, the black meteorite star, the black star that's here and there, said that the human beings were to study the animals. And if you think about it, the Creator really loves the animals because they're always true to their nature. The plants are always true to their nature. Bugs are always true to their nature. We can always study them because each one of them has a gift. Each one has a power. And that you can use those gifts, those powers, that knowledge to better your life. So a long time ago, our people wore different feathers in their hair and they had different symbols that they used. Their life depended on the intimate relationship they had with the animals. Not just for food and clothing, but for the knowledge that each one of them taught them. By observing the animals, by observing the bugs and the plants and developing relationships with them, that we could be expanded in our humanity through these beings that most of all live according to their true nature. The only animal on earth that doesn't live according to its true nature is the human being, because they have choice. They're also responsible for how the animals live. In a time in the future, they may develop through our interaction with them in a more profound way. Because instead of people looking at animals, plants, bugs, and things like that as just aspects of nature, maybe this story can begin to plant the seed about how important they are to all of us and how important they are to the ecosystem, and that the web of life that connects all things can be enhanced by our relationship with them. So now I'll start to begin to talk about the animal powers on Earth and how we can use those. And this is overseen by Sagakutid Nawadiji, the black star that's here and there. Sometimes they call our medicine lodge an animal lodge. It's everything lodge. We are everything. We have many animal powers: birds, bugs, plants, animals. Talk a little bit about the plants. We have different medicines. I'll just touch on a few. For instance, different types of trees. In front of our lodge, we always put a cedar tree. There's a story, and I don't want to go in. Well, I will tell it. So everything has an origin. And when the Mother Corn came to us and she began to teach us how to use the pipe, Mother Corn showed us, and then we had to copy her. We have to make offerings to everything in the universe and to every pole that we have in the lodge. But when we copied her, we forgot the wind. The wind got mad, and he said, because you forgot me, I'm angry. And now every time there's a storm in the summertime, I will come, which is a tornado, the spirit of the big wind. And everybody, was upset and scared. But the Sacred Mother in the form of the cedar tree came. He said, now a big wind is coming. All my children, hold on to this rock that's outside the lodge and hold on to this tree. So when you see a cedar tree, it'll go straight, and right at the top, it'll have a crook. And our people say, that's where we held on during the first tornado. We held onto the rock and to the cedar tree, and she was flexible enough to keep us on the earth, and we never lost ourselves. The power of the cedar tree is that irregardless of the pH level of the soil, because only certain plants can grow in certain pHs, it can grow in any pH soil. That's why it's called an evergreen. It stays always green. And so the cedar tree teaches us how to remain in balance all year. We can live anywhere. We can go anywhere on the earth, and we can set up our camp and live. And she also teaches us how to be nurtured. Because under her, we can be nurtured. Another plant is the sage, the white sage we use in ceremonies. A lot of people like to use it now to purify, but they were never taught about it, and they didn't have a creation story about it, but they know it works, and that's all that matters. And the power of the sage is the power of the sun to drive away evil. And you can burn it, which a lot of people do. You smudge and stuff, but you don't need to burn it. If you only got a little bit, take it, put it in your cap, put it in your pocket, put it in the bottom of your shoes. If you ever go to a place where you don't know what's going on there, or you have some apprehension or some anxiety, put that white sage in your shoes, and the power of the sun will protect you wherever you walk. And so those are all things on the earth that you can use. Every medicine that we have, plant medicine, has got around 60 things it can heal and doctor for different things. And you can use it for good things, or you got 60 other ways to use it, the not so nice things. And it all depends on how the person that holds it, their state of mind. Even like poison ivy, people said poison ivy, but a long time ago, the old people used to be really careful with it. They would get the oil from it, and they put it on warts, and it's really good to kill warts. And each one of them has a personality. There's different types of cedar, different types of sage. The creeping cedar, my grandma used to put it across their doorways. And I said, Grandma, how come you got that creeping cedar above your door? She said, because she's real mean. And so if cedar can be mean, that one is, and that's why she put it above her door. Most of it comes through women, because the women develop a really high empathy and subtlety in their minds when they plant gardens. They make songs for the seeds, they bless the seeds, they nurture seeds. It's their little babies coming up in the garden. If you learn how to nurture a plant as a little girl, you can nurture human beings, because you're planting seeds, hoeing the garden, harvesting, storing. Those same dynamics are in the way you teach your family. The symbol of the corn is the symbol of the womb of creation, right? When we're talking about the first level of creation, the Sacred Mother is the part that separated first. And we find her in the cedar tree, but most of the time we use white corn to represent the undifferentiated consciousness of the Sacred Mother. There was 3 things that would keep us in good order: the office of chief, the mother corn bundles and the secrets of the medicine lodge. And some of the stuff I'm telling you, the old people would roll over because I'm telling you the secrets of the lodge. Because if you empower somebody with what I'm saying, they could do nearly anything. And if somebody was really looking for power for the wrong reasons, they could find it. They could become that sixth dimension in the tree of life, knocking over all the boulders and all, making the water dirty and, you know. But we live in a time where I think people really need to examine themselves, and we all want a better life. And so we're all in the same boat, regardless of race. And we all need to at least have a chance to know some of these things that we're talking about. And I've met very power-hungry people before, and at some level, I think I was one as a young person, because when you're really disempowered and you're traumatized, you'll look for something to redeem the ugliness of your life. You'll look for something that's outside of yourself to make yourself feel good about who you are now. And in time, if you're going to be really happy, you'll become gifted, but you'll end up giving your gift away to other people. So that's about the plants. Now we'll talk about some bugs. So there's a lot of depth to like a butterfly. Sawitaka. Sawitaka is about transformation. And sometimes in our relationships, we need help. And we can't throw those relationships away. And maybe we're praying about those relationships. Maybe we can't figure out the 10 natural disasters. But we need help to change them, help to transform them into something that's harmonious and helpful and mutually beneficial. So you could pray and sing to the butterfly, because the butterfly is about metamorphosis. The butterfly is about transitioning from one state to another. And so we can sing a song with the universe that transmute the prayer that you said with a relationship. Death is only transition, and this is one of the helpful beings that, because of its beauty, because of its gentleness, because of its own fragility, it's the one that can help us the most. That's one of the bugs that we use. Another bug would be like pitaru. Pitaru is the ant. And there's different forms of this creation story I'm telling you, and I got to see different forms of it. One of them is the 34 sheath willow stick ceremony. And in there, they lay down one of those 34 willow sticks just for the ant. Because when we were in the earth, as we were going through the 4 levels of the underworld, we still had to live. And it was the ant people that gave themselves. They used to be round. They didn't have that kind of hourglass figure that they got now. During that time, we needed to eat. So the ant said, we'll help you human beings. So they start giving us their food, and they put a belt on and they start cinching it up. Every time they were hungry, they would just cinch up their belt. So when you see an ant, you're looking at the one who sacrificed for us. So we venerate the ants. That's one of the reasons why we venerate them, but there's 5 other reasons. They fight together, they work together, they're clean, they live in earth lodges, and they take good care of their young. And so we liken ourselves to an ant colony. It's not just an ant to us, it's, oh, pitaru. You can even talk to them. You know, they have their own village and they have their own ways. Bless all the ants, you know. Another one is the dragonfly. The dragonfly is a messenger of the Creator upon the earth. It doesn't live very long. He only lives for a little bit upon this earth. But with him carries sacred message from the Creator. When you really need help, when you want guidance from Drawa himself, it's the dragonfly that's your friend. So one time my brother was farming in one of the fields, and I was going through a hard time myself. And we prayed about stuff, we talked about stuff. And I wanted the spirits, or a dream, or a vision. But it can come in a plethora of ways. And I wanted to talk directly to Dalawa. So my brother was out at a certain place in the field, and here he was driving his tractor, and a blue and black dragonfly, he said, no lie, is about 7 inches across. It's the biggest dragonfly, flew through the window, landed on his shoulder. And then, you know, he's a real literal guy too. So he said, what do you have to tell me? He shut down the thing, shut down the tractor, and he was sitting there with that dragonfly. And he said, bro, it began to talk to me. And it told me about you. And this is what it said. And everything he said was true. That dragonfly talked about the deepest part of me and my distrust and my fear and my whatever I was going through at that time. If you want to hear, all you got to do is turn to it and clear your mind and tell me whatever you need to tell me. If you believe you can do it, it can be done. And the stuff he told me in both of those incidences were like money. Powerful, really powerful. And so I was like, man, thank you very much. So I have a special place in my heart for the dragonfly. And then bumblebees. Bumblebees are really good, and sometimes we use them. And there's a woman bundle amongst my people right now. And in there, they use a bumblebee. And a part of what the bumblebee does is just like anything. It has one side and it has another side. People say, oh, there's a bumblebee, it could sting me. You know what I mean? But also it has the power to lessen the pain when you've already been stung. So sometimes we use it for trauma and abuses that people go through. We'll pray to the bumblebee to help take away the pain of the sting of this. It kind of has that duality to it. But when they sting you, they die. Ladybug. My old people, they always say, don't kill a ladybug, you make it rain. And so anything you see with spots usually represent hail. And so they're connected with the thunders and the lightning, and they're very gentle. And so I just grew up hearing that as a little kid, don't kill a ladybug, you're gonna make it rain. You know? And so we never like squash ladybugs. We always like, hey, one landed right here. It's like, you can go if you want. No. And that's one of them. It's connected to that. And so if you want to make it rain, you go find a ladybug. Spiders represent knowledge. And in some people's belief, it represents a trickster god. But that's not our belief. Our belief is that it has pure knowledge. I have a spider in my medicine. And people say, oh, you have a spider spirit? And I was like, everybody's got a spider spirit. Part of it is knowledge. And we were talking about earlier how it represents man and woman coming together, two becoming one and all 8 legs. Especially this white spider woman, she's really powerful. And when the world gets out of balance like it is right now, she's the one who destroys the evil, and she's female. Because people want to fight and have wars and have negativity. But it's the beauty of a spider woman that can destroy the evil. And that's what the dark powers are about to deal with, because they've created an imbalance in this world. I won't tell the name of my spider, but the spider can give you really deep knowledge. You go to different ceremonies and they'll use a spider in there. And that spider is usually a jokester and telling jokes, but the one that's with me, he's real serious as a heart attack. And he just tells me like old school knowledge. And then he said, when the spider is talking in those other ceremonies, he said, don't laugh. He said, this is the medicine of the trickster gods. And so a part of the spider's web is about illusion. What really looks good, what really looks pretty, money, fame, status, really looks good to people. But they're kind of like the flies that get caught in the spider's web. They get caught in the knowledge, in the lack of planning, and the lack of focus that a regular person goes through. And before you know it, you're the fly in the web, and you get yourself stuck. So don't believe anything you hear. That's why I think everything's a trick. You know, I never trust anything. I have to sit there and pray. Like, that's why you have prayer and why you have ceremonies, so you can make the best decisions that you can. And the more you are aware of that, the more the spider can help you, because he's the master of illusion and he traps people with illusions. So just as he traps people with illusions, he can pull you out of illusion. And so that's the knowledge of the spider. And he himself creates it so he doesn't get stuck in his own web, because he's the one who created it. Spiders, they're just like people. They have differentiated personalities, and that's why they have different names and different altars and in different medicines. Mine's like an old man. He has a young guy name, but he's an old man. He's almost like the opposite of what his name. But most of the time, they have the personality of a child, like a 10, 12-year-old kid. And guess what their favorite offering is? The same as a kid's. Pop and candy. But just like a little kid, they have a short attention span. So if you talk with them and deal with them, most of them you got to deal with in a 24-hour period. And at different things, you can take webs, but I won't tell you how to use them. But you could take the web of a spider and pray with it. I won't go into the other stuff. It'll seem a little crazy to people. So that's all I'll say about a spider. So we'll talk about some birds. And so we'll start with the eagles, because everybody likes to talk about eagles. The golden eagle is the chief of the eagles. And he's the main messenger between us and the creator, flies the highest of all the birds. That's why Indians use the mature black and white eagle tail as the main symbol that they use in ceremonies. And they use them to put in their hair. They use it on their pipes. They use it on their staffs, especially the center tail feather. That center tail feather represents the road of life. Sometimes they'll take a center and they'll bead the bottom and kind of use it to smudge and kind of do different things, different people. It's a fractal of life. When you're born, that big thick quill, those are no decisions to make that you have to be taken care of. And the road is real wide. You can't really make a mistake. But when you go up a little bit more, you start seeing those little hairs, the soft kind of plumage. When you're a kid, you start making choices. But they're easy choices. They're soft choices. And that's what those little hairs represent. And then you get to the part up where it's white. There's quills. There's decisions you have to make. And then when you start developing real sacred knowledge, you move into darkness, you move into power, and you move into harder decisions. And as you go along, the quill goes from thick to thinner. So your road gets thin. And you have to act accordingly. And right at the top is white. That symbol represents going beyond your humanity. You've mastered your human nature. Now you return back in. And it's not the white of the bottom, it's the white of the top. And that's where you have fully understood yourself. You fully understand all your decisions. The road's real thin, but you didn't fall off all that whole way. And you're right where you need to be as an elder, as an older person, or as a spiritually mature person. And so that's one of the symbols of that. His counterpart is the bald eagle. The symbol for America and the bald eagle is the protector of the medicine lodge. It is not a chief, but it is a great warrior. And this bald eagle is the symbol of America, but it's not the symbol of the chief, the leader. It's the symbol of a warrior, so we're always in war. They had a golden eagle to represent our people, say, then we would be real leaders of the world instead of war causers. The hummingbird came to me in a fast when I was in Oklahoma. And the first time they gave me my body paint, the first time I brought to life my black pipe, that big giant black pipe. And I had to make a bridge cloth in a certain way. They told me the instructions, how to paint my body and how to fix that pipe, and that pipe's done. So I fixed it like that. It looked deadly. Plus I looked cool right before I walked outside. Hey, check this out, So I was all painted my whole body, different symbols for different things. And I made it so I could open the door because it's hot in Oklahoma. And that sucker will boil me inside that sweat lodge when it's 115, 120. That place was in a valley. And I was like, I already been through a lot of hard fasts, so I'm going 4 days, but I don't want to boil in there because I just didn't want to suffer like that. So I made the altar so that I could open the door and I could let a breeze come in if there was a breeze. It was still hot. So the 4th day I couldn't sit up anymore because the room was just going like this, and it's like, it's better I just lay down. And if I live through this, I'm gonna do it. So I just brought that pipe on me and I laid down with the door open. It was daytime on the evening of the 4th day, probably about noonish, maybe a little bit past noon. I couldn't wait for that day to get over. I was like, I need to be here a few more hours before I can come out, So I was like, I'm disciplining myself and just lay here. So all of a sudden, after a while, I was like, hope that ain't a snake. But when I opened my eyes, there was a hummingbird flying right in the front of my face. And if hummingbirds can smile, this one was smiling at me. It's like, it looked like the hummingbird was smiling, man, straight up. And I was like, oh, and I couldn't even move because I was out of it. I said, thank you. Wait, you're coming, it's real good. I offer you the pipe. I was, here's the pipe and smoke it. I'm offering it to you, but I can't sit up. And then he's there for a while and he's really looking at me, smiling at me. And then after a while he flew away, like 5-10 minutes. He wasn't there a long time with me. I thought, man, that's cool. I can't wait to get back, tell those guys that hummingbird flew in here. And next thing you know, after like another hour or two, I heard a whole bunch of, and I opened my eyes, and there was 4 of them floating in a line as I was laying down an arm length away from me. I was holding that black pipe. Hey, how's it going? They're all smiling at me. I offer you the pipe. They were there. So the power of the hummingbird is the power of being able to change directions in your spiritual life. And it was the hummingbird that brought me to understand that. And the reason why it's a left-handed hummingbird is that kind of the first temple, the temple of Nutwajesh, is how the power works with your people. It represents the ceremonies, mores, traditions, cultures, and doctrines and dogmas of your community. But the reason why it's left-handed is because it's the direction of new understandings. Right-handed path is the direction of all your doctrines and everything in tradition. And the left-handed path is a dangerous path. It's not the path of the collective, it's the path of the individual. The hero's journey. He has left his traditions and mores. He has gone on the hero's journey. It's very interesting and very dangerous what you go through when you take the left-handed path. You leave your community. You have experiences no one in your community ever had, and your tribe ever had. So you leave, you have these experiences, but you're going to bring back the essence of what your community needs. And these people infuse their old way with something new. I know what it is to take the left-handed path of the hummingbird. And part of it is if you go into a place, you need to be able to stop in mid-air. You need to be able to back up. I got to get out of here. And if something says, I'm coming after you, it's like, not this way, you ain't, and then not this way. So diagonally, back and forward, above and below, a hummingbird can fly in any direction. If you're going to a place where no one can show you, then you need to be able to use the power of the left-handed hummingbird. And that's the time that we live in now. We'll talk about some of the 4-legged beings. The medicine man of the spirit world is a bear. The Gunuch, or the Pawnee say Guruks. And this bear teaches us many things. And we talked earlier in the first stage as we came out of the earth, the bear stood upon its hind legs and put its hands up to the sun and received the power of knowledge of all the plants and healing, and also of how to take life there in the claws and how to use that power for ourselves. So that's this bear power. And I come from the Arikara Bear Society. So the willingness to engage such powers, you have to be brave. And there was a time in my life when I did a ceremony, and I was the most afraid I ever was, because I was being chased by something, the predatory consciousness. Part of that is human beings allowing a predatory consciousness to be repressed. Some of these powers, they're not human, but they use humans, because the humans that lack the knowledge of self, these powers enter into them through different forms and in different ways. And the human being becomes a vessel for the predatory consciousness. And it's mostly men. And this predatory consciousness doesn't like women, because women have a power they don't, all the women. And that's why they can't be fooled, because when something tries to mess or enter into the body of a woman, especially a woman on her time, it can't, because it ejects that spirit out. And that's the power of the moon that's inside of a woman. That's why women are on the same 28-day cycle as the moon, because they can't be controlled by the predatory consciousness, but men can. And I don't mean to talk about the predatory consciousness, but I do want to talk about how these animal powers can help us to understand ourselves in such a way that we can stand strong against being manipulated. And the real battlefield has always been in the battlefield of consciousness. And that is the building block of reality and the building block of this universe, is what we think and why we think it. And as we examine ourselves, you get to a certain spiritual level, you begin to hear the unstruck sound. You have to be careful with what you listen to. And if you don't know why you're doing it, you should examine what it's saying and what it's trying to do. And that's how they operate. These dark powers operate in the invisible aspect of the tree of life, both within you and outside of you. So the bear, the medicine man, teaches us how to stand strong and not back down and be ferocious. And as a bear medicine man, a lot of people complain I'm infamous. I'm not famous. I've been infamous for a long time. And a part of it is that the bear, because all his power is based upon truth, but it's a ferocious truth. It's a compelling truth. People want to present to people truth, but if it's not ferocious enough, it won't bust through and help them. So when you give people truth, give it like the way you think a bear would give it. Sometimes I guess I traumatize people because I gave it to them so ferociously, but sometimes they've come back 2 years, 5 years, 10 years later and say, I could hear now what you were trying to say. But that's not me, that's that gunu, that's that bear. And so he'll stand against anything. He fears nothing as he goes. The other one I want to talk about, in our language, we call him Nextanu. It's 2 words, Nexanu, which means ghost, and the Stanu means hairy. Nextanu means the hairy ghost. This is what we call the being they call Bigfoot. And people have always been trying to capture Bigfoot, and they've been, there's Bigfoot hunters all over the place, and the Indians all laugh because he's real, but he can step in and out of the visible aspect of the tree of life. We call him hairy ghost because he's hairy and because he can show himself or doesn't have to show himself, and he can disappear anytime he wants in any doorway. He shows people that there are spiritual doors everywhere. And so if he wants to step behind a tree and totally disappear, he can do that at any time. He can hear your thoughts, and he allows you to see them, and he is a protector of medicines. Most of the time, people are way out in the boondocks, or he's coming into town to protect something, to protect a door, or to protect somebody that has power and medicine. And I want to acknowledge Nextanuch, the Bigfoot, for all the work that he's done, and blessings upon all the Bigfoot people. And there's different types of them, and they have families and everything. And throughout different places, there's different centers that the Indians know about where they come together. And every so often on this reservation, some reservations he's always around, but this one he comes every 20 years. And he's seen by all races of man here. And so it's actually a pretty famous guy we're talking about. So I want to explain that to the people, and that they won't ever cage him, because he can create a door anywhere he wants. Different tribes, I heard, give him different types of offerings. And sometimes he'll eat evil too, or destroy evil. So sometimes right before they hear him, they'll smell him. The Bigfoot has a really distinct smell. That when he hollers through the canyons or in the trees, he has a very unique call. And one time we were in Vermont, and it must have followed me over there. And there was a being screaming in the trees, and they were like freaked out. What is that? What is that? I said, that's the Bigfoot. That's real to us, you know. And there's been people of all races that have seen it in America. And you go to the Himalayas, they got the Yeti and different spiritual beings. All those spiritual beings are really real. Rabbits. Rabbits. There used to be a rabbit society. These rabbits can really doctor burns good. The spirit of a rabbit. So if you get a rabbit, both the waduch, which is the jackrabbit, and the nis, which is the cottontail. These two types of rabbits are around here. How not to get burned, just to use rabbit power. Another good thing about rabbits is they teach us how to evade enemies. One time the Fort Peck Sioux thought they were attacking a Mandan village, but they were attacking Rick Ross. And about 3 or 4 rabbit medicine men came out. They didn't shapeshift, they were just like regular men, but they were running around like rabbits, and they kind of sit there and kind of look around, they take off again. Those guys are emptying their guns on those rabbits, rabbit medicine men. But in real life, the bears came out and they shapeshifted and they start killing the enemy. And so they wasted their bullets on the rabbits, and the bears came out and ripped them to pieces. And that was not even in the 1700s, that happened in the 1800s. So the Rickraws, they all say, are holy people. I also got a good relationship with the buffalo. And the buffalo is the chief of the four-legged beings. The buffalo teaches us how to come together as a people and as a tribe. It's not an individual, and it's bigger than a pack. And it's this buffalo that teaches us how to take care of each other. And people try to equate buffaloes and cows as similar, but they're not. Why? Because if you threaten a cow herd, they'll just keep chewing their cud. But if you threaten a buffalo herd, the bulls will all turn to the outside, and the cows and the calves will go to the middle. I've killed buffaloes, or tribal buffaloes, for powwow feeds and stuff. And all the pickups of all the buffalo projects are dented from the buffalo, because if they kill one, they'll begin to attack anything. And your life is in jeopardy if you kill one of them. And so it's a very dangerous thing to go after one of them, because they'll act like a herd. Even ones that are wounded, they'll try to stand up, and other buffalo come to the side and try to pick him up with their shoulders and with their horns. Get up, we're gonna go, we gotta get out of here. And there's just something powerful about that when you watch them do it. And I got to see it a few times. The buffalo and the chief of them, he teaches us how to do that. And there's a lot of stories about our relationship with the buffalo. And the reason why the government killed 30 million buffalo in 3 or 4 years is because they couldn't defeat the Indians of the Northern Plains. So they took away our food source and starved our children. It was the US government that it was the dark powers that used them to do that to us. and destroyed the ecosystem when they destroyed the buffalo. And they destroyed such a beautiful, beautiful way of life because we're so intrinsically connected to them. The people as a whole, we consider ourselves buffalo people. They always joke around. They say that's why we have wide shoulders and no butt because we're buffalo people. The buffalo goes with the water cycle, and they have the power of the thunder and lightning. And so their speed and their power is connected to the thunder and lightning. And so we had a ceremony in a bundle. They call that bundle the Juwiku Kuruhu. Juwiku means the wallowing bull. Whenever you see a bull wallowing in a wallow, like a wallow pit, they go to a certain place and they'll wallow back and forth. They're making medicine. They're making power. They're making strength. So we call it the wallowing bull bundle. And he's the only being that can face the north wind. I live in North Dakota. And any other being, as soon as that north wind blows and it's cold out, everything will turn its back to the north wind except the buffalo. He'll put his head down and he'll walk right into the north wind. And that's the only animal that can face the north wind. And he has stamina. He said, when I gave myself to you, I gave you the ability to face the hardest winds of life. And I gave you the power to run all day. So I went through one of my fasts, and I danced in a blizzard for a whole day. And I got the strength from the buffalo. And it was a powerful experience for me. It told me that for every hour you danced, it was 24. It was a year of your life. You didn't give up. You never quit. You never sat down. You never tried to get warm. So I did aerobics, full blast, singing and dancing for 24 hours straight when I was about 24, 25. Yeah, in the blizzard. I was facing the east, but I had to keep dancing. I was in bad hypothermia. And I never got warm, but I wouldn't go into such bad hypothermia that I would quit or I would lose myself. And if I ever did anything great, that was the greatest thing I ever did, is I made it. So that's the power of the buffalo, to face the north wind, the hardships of life, the Indian people, and the relationship with the buffalo, the chief of the four-legged beings. Then there's the wolf and the dog. The wolf is a pack animal. It was a great deed for a warrior to go out by himself and to break into a wolf den and capture a puppy and to bring it back. If you could do that without getting killed, you're a pretty powerful person. So that was kind of like a young man's display of power, was to go steal a wolf pup. And that's how the dogs came to be. The dog came from the wolf. But these dogs are really important to us. And people don't know this about your dog. The best way to destroy a dog's power is take it in the house. So everybody has house dogs. You just destroyed its power. Because it has to live outside to have power. It has to be in nature. And part of it is that say a dog's head's like this, right above its head is a light. And when it barks, that power that's above its head, you can't see it. And when it barks, it scares spirits, bad spirits away. We have a society long ago amongst our people. Even the Arikara's had it, Hiradza's had it, Lakota's had it, and it was called either dog soldiers or crazy dogs. And for a man to be dog-spirited is really good. And my Hiradza relatives call it Mashuga Mayarachi. To be dog-spirited is the ability to sacrifice yourself. The ability to die, to protect the feminine divine. Warriors are there to protect the feminine divine in their community. Both the sacred knowledge, which is feminine, and the women that transmit it to children. So protecting your women and children so that the mother can transmit it. That's why it's really important for women when they have kids to continue to hypnotize their babies to that sacredness, because only the mother can do it from 0 to 7. That baby should be doted on. That's why Indians never correct their kids up to 7, because babies are being hypnotized to how sacred and holy they are. And only a mom can do that. So that's one of the teachings that go with the dog and why men are to become dog-spirited. And when we have dogs that are either hit by cars or they die, our people say the dog died for somebody in the family. There's a story that goes along with dogs. Another time we made a mistake with the pipe. Remember I was telling you we forgot to give it to the wind, and that's what created tornadoes? At that same time, it was a real powerful time on Earth when things could happen in a certain way. We could live almost forever long ago. But we made a mistake with the pipe. And we took the pipe and we forgot to offer it to 2 dogs that sat at the doorway of the medicine lodge. And there was a black male and a white female. And that black male, he said, "Hey, you guys forgot to offer a smoke with the pipe. And because you did this, me and my sister will follow you for all time." The black male said, "I am death and my sister's sickness." In Arikara. And the people were kind of like, "Oh, we're going to be followed by death and sickness the rest of our life." But just like anything, there's another side to every story. So the Sacred Mother said, "This is true. Death and sickness will follow you for all the time." He said, "But I'm going to help you overcome death and sickness." When you do the death feast, we tell that's part of the story. When I send people to the village of the old people, no matter what somebody has done, no matter how heinous somebody acted, they're still the spark of the Creator. And if their friends love them, their family loves them, they can do a ceremony to make sure they get to the ancestral plane. And we have that ceremony. We call the death feast our Last Supper. So no karma is beyond us. You know, people say, "Oh, you're bound by karma." No, you can transcend karma, but you have to know you're the Creator. And you always kind of wonder why good people have a hard life and why sometimes evil people really get ahead. Like if you go to the dark ceremonies of the evil secret society guys, they do some heinous stuff in there, but they're the richest. And they have a lot of say. And they gloat over everything and they're not very humble. They're about to get humbled. But, and then really good people, salt of the earth people have such tragic things happen to them. Because when you're naughty, you're a naughty person. You hang with a bunch of other naughty people. You create an opposite, and they know that. And then when you do really good things and you're really sincere and your intent is really pure, sometimes things happen to you. But when you operate out of the Creator, I do it out of duty to the Creator. You create no opposite. And when you operate and you do ceremonies, we always say this, "Not donated na hunkarika narij, alit si hawa isanihiyo." You become the Creator when you say those words in ceremony. Every medicine man used to say that before he spoke and before he performed the ceremony. In English, it doesn't sound too hot. It sounds really lame. But basically saying, I'm going to stand where he stood. When I said he played out all of our lives, I will stand where he stood, and I will perform this as he said. I was there with you through the whole thing, and I was always a witness to what you did. So when you say that, we do it and we create no opposite. And so that's the teachings of how to transcend karma. We have 4 beings, 4 animals in our main medicine that oversees all the other animal powers. And the leader of that is a beaver, Jitk. And the beavers are very holy. That lodge that we use, the medicine lodge, is akin to a beaver lodge because you can't just walk in there. It has secret entrances. And if you think about it, you'll see how powerful a beaver's only about that big, you know? But it changes the ecosystem wherever it goes for miles and miles around. Cuts down the trees, builds a dam, builds a lodge. Then after a while, new plants, water plants, starts damming up, starts to rise. New plants, succulent plants come in, attracts the deer, which attracts the predators, which attracts the bird, all the different things. And it's the beaver that brings fruit and happiness and plenty and abundance to the land. Yeah, in the short term, they'll cut all the trees down and all the cover. So a lot of people shoot them. If you're like on my brother Lee's land, I said, don't shoot the beavers. And then we're going to create an awesome place here. And then one of his main helpers is Jituk, muskrat. And a muskrat is humble. People go to ceremonies and they learn from somebody and they're like, I could do that and I could be this way. And, I'm going to break off from this guy. I'm going to start my own thing. Once I get enough knowledge, people do that. But the Jituk, he's real humble. He's a hard worker and he helps. And sometimes the beaver family will allow a muskrat family to live in the lodge with them as long as it starts to store branches underneath the water for the winter. And then the otter teaches us how to be happy. If you notice those three animals, otter, beaver, and muskrat, they teach us how to live a spiritual life, which is the water, and also how to live on earth. And if you really live a spiritual life, you'll become a miserable person, especially today. You'll be miserable. But the otter teaches us how to be happy and be spiritual. Be happy, be pleasant, be balanced. Because whatever he does, he's always having a good time. You know what I mean? He's also good at sucking poisons out of people. So that's another part of the otter. And then the last one, it's more like a swamp owl. It lives in the banks along the river, and it puts its nest in there. But it's a smaller owl. And this owl is the chief of the night. He can see not only into the physical night, but he can see into the great mystery of the Creator. And so when you need to know something no one can see, I'll sing my song to him, say, I'm going to call him to me. You know. Anyways, that's, I better not sing it, they might start coming. But the owl can see into the physical nighttime, but he can also see into the great mystery of the Creator. And people don't know this about an owl, but an owl feels very deeply. He doesn't just gather information with his eyes. He gathers information from his heart. And he can decipher that very quickly. And that's how you can know how other people feel and think and do things. And you can know their motivations. And I have one. The owl claws, they hold on to teachings. Because once it grabs something, it's God. There's a lot, really, raptor claws. The other thing is that every feather, when you hear a hawk or an eagle goes, whoo, whoo, whoo. But it all has like plumage on every feather. So it flies silently. Doesn't make that sound. And then you can't sneak up on all. Things try to sneak up on me before, but it's the first spirit that I ever got. Can see 360 degrees all the way around. Be looking here, turn its head all the way completely around and look at you again. So you can't sneak up on him. It's a very powerful thing to have. And so when you study nature, nature is the highest level of creation. And if you study nature, then you're going to really know, because nature is inside of you. And we always found great technology in nature and in relationships and in simple things. And our language was the greatest technology. And so when I talk about the importance of language, is the taproot of thought that you're using. And I'm doing my best to translate it into English for people. But Arikara is one of the top 5 most complex languages in the world. And 4 of those top 5 are Native American languages. And then 1 is an African language. So the Romance languages, a lot of the other languages, they don't have that complexity because your spoken word is a technology in itself. We need a hole in the system. We have to rethink who we are in relation with the natural world. And this relation with the natural world is it's all interdependent. We need to invite the indigenous people to the table. And this system is going to fall. It will. And they need to invite the Indian people to the table. And we will show you, just as we gave you the Constitution, the Iroquois Confederacy gave those so-called founding fathers, the Haudenosaunee gave them the Constitution. And they mimicked it and they claimed it as their own. And we need a new way of governing ourselves as a collective. This corporatocracy that we live in now, this Congress and this political system has only been an illusion. And we have to transcend again, and we have to begin again. And that's what's about to happen in nature and the creation itself. Go back to nature and ask the indigenous people of all over the world, because we're only 5% of the population now. And to return back to the indigenous way of thinking and begin again. And we don't have to throw away everything. We have to begin to meld and make good decisions about how things affect nature and how we're a part of nature. The Indian people of this continent have been saying that for a long time. And the dark powers, the corporate people, and their dark ceremonies, they don't care about this earth. They don't care about this land. But I'll tell you right now, it's gonna end. It's over. It's gonna happen. We have to come together as human beings and decide. And there has to be some leaders that emerge from this that can really speak to everyone's needs and speak to real, honest to goodness harmony on so many levels and re-understanding history. And so we're doing the best we can and planting these seeds in everybody's garden of life. And everybody's responsible, both individually and collectively, for everybody else. And when we see ourselves as the creator, every one of us takes the highest responsibility for the whole universe and for this planet and for each other. Because we know the deep spiritual truth, and this was what the offering was supposed to do. If you listen to elders and you listen to people that have sacred knowledge, you can transcend your own human experiences and you can gain knowledge if you understand Echo the word carrier. Sakana. Echo the word carrier allows us to listen to elders and people with real sacred knowledge and be able to learn and grow without having to have the same experiences that they had. And I wouldn't wish my path on anybody because I was responsible for every part of it, and it was a really tough path. So I give this to the world and I give this to people with the spirit of Sakana, of Echo, the word carrier, the teacher of that spirit, so that you can take the spirit of what is being told to you and apply it directly. When I started this dream, I spoke no Arikara. I knew none of our stories. I was there with the old people, but I didn't know what they were saying. I didn't know what they were doing. I was there with them in the bundle. And the only thing I can point to is my great-grandmother had about 5 bundles. She was praying, Yo, come over here, stand right here. She said that to me. So I was about 5 or 6, and I kind of stood there, and I was looking at the floor. I remember looking at the floor. I said, Dios na siya na na siya dog. And she took out a cornball, and she started praying in our language. And she started touching every one of the bundles and praying. You know, spend like 5-10 minutes on each bundle. You know, or whatever, a few minutes on each bundle. And she said, here, you eat this. She put it inside of me. That's the only thing I could ever say why my destiny was much different. And that was around the time I was gifted. I was a little kid. I only lived in this my whole life. Since that, I feel like that moment was the moment where she fixed it, the old lady. And so those are some of the things my great-grandmother did for me. And she was the last doctor of the medicine lodge. And I am Nikotati na Chihuhuarukti. I am the one who's the sacred dreamer. My grandma did that. And they outlawed us, the U.S. government and the dark power. But I brought us back. And we're back. The Arikara are back. I gave up a lot to do it. Because I am the one who's the sacred dreamer. And there is no other. And so my people will live again. And I want to give this knowledge to the world. I want to give it to whoever can use it. And if anybody ever tries to manipulate this knowledge, they're only going to hurt themselves. It can only be done with great integrity. And you can't lie or steal or cheat or manipulate people, because it will never work for you. Certain things are only meant for you. And every medicine man has secrets that only he's supposed to know. And I used to spill the beans on everything back in the day, but they said, don't tell anybody this, don't tell anybody that, it's just for you. And you'll find that as you go down your spiritual path, some things are only for you. No one can tell you what you're supposed to do. You have to dream it, feel it, see it, hear it. If you try to follow somebody else's dream, you'll fail.
Skusu hadunu na chichiru warukti. Skusu hadunu na chichiru warukti. Adiyak denawat vedanani wo adiyak heineram. Adiyak diwago heine. Nane shiwago natao, nane shiwago heineram. Skusu hadunu na chichiru warukti. Skusu hadunu na chichiru warukti. Adiyak denawat vedanani wo adiyak heineram. Adiyak diwago heine. Nane shiwago natao, nane shiwago heineram. Skusu hadunu na chichiru warukti. Skusu hadunu na chichiru warukti. Adiyak denawat vedanani wo adiyak heineram. Adiyak diwago heine. Nane shiwago natao, nane shiwago heineram. Skusu hadunu na chichiru warukti. Skusu hadunu na chichiru warukti. Adiyak denawat vedanani wo adiyak heineram. Adiyak diwago heine. Nane shiwago natao, nane shiwago heineram.